base pairs. Did you see the movie Gattaca with
No,
Uma Thurman?
Gattaca.
Right? All right. So those are the base pairs, GHCC. If it shares with your germ cell line, then it becomes part of you. 4 years ago, scientists out in the University of Utah found a retrovirus in the human genome from a virus that infected our ancestors tens of millions of years ago. And it switches on a gene that helps you when you get infected. It detects molecules called interferon. Most people have heard that word, but it's critical. But a human placental formation is dependent on an endogenous retrovirus to form something called the syncytial trophoblast that was integrated into our mammalian genome even before chimpanzees and apes from an endogenous retrovirus from millions of years ago. So are they good or bad? Or a little bit of both. In the short term, when virus is activated in one human lifespan, they likely have negative effects. But crossing the bridge of time, they become a strong force of evolution, active in us today and for our future. So not just the gut bacterial microbiome, we have a virome. So when we have used the bioactive silver for people who have gut issues, what we found is that it doesn't change the microbial diversity of the intestine. It will kill, in our experience, it kills gram-negative bacteria really well. It also kills some of the gram-positives, but gram-positives have 10 times the protective cell membrane that gram-negatives do, so it takes much longer to do that, and the body does bounce back, especially if you're going to eat well.
Mm-hmm. Say more about eating well.
Eating well. Well, if you're looking for feeding your microbiome, because that's who we're feeding, right? Because they're making our B vitamins, they're making our neurotransmitters, our hormones. To feed them, they're not looking for steak and French fries, or actually any animal-based product, which is really upsetting to those of us who have enjoyed, meat over the years.
Yeah.
Right. But if you want to feed the microbiome, the bacterial side of the microbiome, you must have a plant-based diet.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who are not vegan but want to trend vegan, I have them work in their lives at least 85% organic vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, and berries, and then about 12 or so percent meat on their plate, not the other way around that you see in American society.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yes, I mean, we know this. I mean, the big vegans, people that I know, the T. Colin Campbell and Neil Barnard and Caldwell Esselstyn, and you have Dean Ornish, who insurance actually pays for his program in Miami if you have cardiovascular disease at a certain level. And classically, within 9 months, if you stick to the vegan diet, you'll have resolution of your cardiovascular issues if they're secondary to narrowing of your arteries.
So David, I love your talk about the virome, the gut virome, and the importance of that. It just seems like we're pushing against our own ignorance of that by thinking it's something that's attacking us at this time, when in fact this is. I love how you've put it together with what's come from how many millions of years ago that's really part of us and what makes us happen now and have a baby. It's so great.
Well, I think that was my favorite part of research I did. But if you remember that, we are made up of all these things. Mm-hmm. And when the Human Genome Project ended, almost, I guess, 16, 17 years ago, we discovered that we thought we would have 1 million genes because, we're the apex people of this planet. We do complex computations. It's us, we're humans. We only had 23,000. How could that be? A nice Pinot Grigio grape had 25,000. A grain of white rice had 30,000. How could humans be humans with only 23,000 genes? What was doing all the work we needed? Turned out to be the gut microbiome. And part of that is the virome and the genetic information that bacteria transfer back and forth, that bacteriophages, which are viruses that infect bacteria, not humans, were also trading and sharing their genetic information. So, they're not living in a desert, but in a biodiverse rainforest. And, issues with the gut microbiome is nutrient starvation, loss of diversity from microbiocide. And that's basically, my favorite is glyphosate, which is just, an awful thing.
Right.
So, yeah, but again, viruses. We had the Spanish flu, right? Appeared spring of 1918. H1N1. It was of bird origin, probably turkeys. 50 million people died worldwide. Only 675,000 in the U.S. They had no vaccine back then. There were no antibiotics for the secondary bacterial infections. The control efforts were limited to quarantine, masks, hygiene, disinfectants, and silver. And then the virulence dies out after the second year, and it becomes a seasonal flu. Then the Asian flu, right, out of Asia, 1957, 58, H2N2. Right, so these strains. I mean, I'm not a virologist. The two proteins on the virus, the hemagglutinin and the neuraminidase. That's how we're giving this nomenclature. But 1 million people died worldwide, and 100,000 in the U.S. Again, it lost its virulence over the next few years and becomes a seasonal flu. Hong Kong flu, same thing. Again, out of Asia, and that was 1968. H3N2 strain. 1 million people died. 100,000 in the U.S. Right? The mutated novel H1N1 2008 came out of Asia again, and we didn't detect it until spring of 2009. 60 million cases worldwide, right? Almost 500,000 people, younger patients, died. Only 15,000 in the U.S. Well, you don't hear about SARS anymore or MERS because when they lose their virulence, then we deal with them like flu. I mean, we have viruses in us, folks. We have HPV. We have herpes, we have measles, we have chickenpox. We've dealt with these viruses. So if it doesn't kill you, it actually makes you even better.
Makes you stronger. Tell us about the real scoop on glyphosate, David.
Glyphosate. Well, remember that Monsanto, when they owned it, at the time they argued that glyphosate was harmless to humans because our cells don't have this thing called the shikimate pathway that makes certain amino acids, which glyphosate inhibited. However, our gut bacteria that we owe most of everything to do have that pathway. So we depend on our gut bacteria to supply us with essential amino acids, among other things. And the glyphosate kills the beneficial gut bacteria and allows pathogens to grow. People forget that glyphosate was formulated as an antibiotic. So it kills our gut bacteria, it kills the microbiome in the soil, it chelates minerals out of the soil and from us, iron, so it suppresses hemoglobin formation, it chelates and gets rid of cobalt, so it suppresses cobalamin, B12, it binds manganese, which you need for the growth of lactobacillus. Most people know that's a good name. It chelates zinc, which you need for immunity. So it also suppresses tryptophan production in the gut from the, I'm trying to think of the cells, the enterochromatin cells in the gut. So now you have shortages in critical neurotransmitters and folate. It enhances aluminum toxicity if you're getting vaccines that have aluminum in it. Right? It disrupts the enzyme that breaks down Tylenol. So now you've got Tylenol toxicity. So, yeah. The problem with
Dear God.
Well, you just have to make sure you're eating organically. And people say, well, I'm an organic vegan, but, I do love my pasta, pizza, bread, cookies, cake, donuts, Danish, pastry, croissants, bagels. And the issue with that is that the glyphosate is used to kill the ryegrass that grows around wheat, and also it desiccates the wheat so that you can get maybe 2 harvests in a year, and it can go to seed faster. Well, but they're spraying that on organic wheat too.
I'm
It's
so
not
sorry. We're running out of time. Now we could actually talk about glyphosate for an entire 25 minutes because
Yeah,
it is,
we're gonna
and you
have you
know
back
I deal
on.
with the food. So yeah, so we're running out of
I'm
time. But
sorry.
David, I love talking to. We love
Yeah,
this kind of
I'm
information,
sorry.
and so do our listeners. But David, let people know where they can reach you or the company, and any other things before we close it down here.
Well, tough to reach me because I'm a working man now from 8 to 6 every day, and trying to pull the research together from decades showing that specific speciation of silver, the bioactive silver hydrosol, is the only one to take because it's totally safe and effective. I think I gave you the website for people to learn more about it. And I would come back to the show at some point in the future if you wanted to continue the conversation.
Fabulous. Well, thank you. Thank you to all our listeners, and be sure to listen in next time.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning into our show on societybitesradio.com. Don't worry if you've missed a show. You can find them all on our website at SarasotaHolisticChamberofCommerce.com.